This is the Female Founder Show with host and entrepreneur Bridget Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Female Founder Show. I'm Bridget Fitzpatrick. Today's guest is Katonya Breaux, founder of Los Angeles-based sun protection brand with a strong commitment to delivering beauty and skin protection solutions for women of all skin tones. Katonya's unique talent for recognizing distinct skincare needs, coupled with her entrepreneurial drive, spurred her to develop a mineral-based SPF formula that avoids the common issue of leaving behind a white residue, which is often encountered with other mineral brand-based formulas used by women of color. Over time, Katonya has expanded Unsun Cosmetics to encompass a range of hand, facial, and body products, while also establishing a platform for educating people about the importance of sunscreen. Thank you so much for joining us, Katonya.
Thank you for having me. Let's have some fun here today.
Absolutely. This is going to be great. Now, I'd love to jump right in, and if you could talk to us a little bit about your background and what inspired you to start your company.
Oh, wow. It was totally unplanned. I spent 20 years in construction. I started out at historical restoration, went on to custom home building, went in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, so was swamped and became completely burned out, moved home to LA, and wasn't really sure what the next chapter of my life was going to be. But back when I was in New Orleans, I started coming up with these little black moles on my face, which wasn't a surprise because all of the older women in my family have them. But I felt like I was early 40s. They were coming a little too soon. So a trip to the dermatologist made me aware that this was not genetic, but sun damage. And it honestly, it floored me. I was like, but wait, I'm Black. Black people don't get sun damage. That's crazy, right? Wrong. And so now I'm armed with this new information. I don't have to end up with a face full of moles. So I became obsessed about sunscreen. I tried every one. The first things I realized were that the ones I tried early on would burn my eyes. I hated the smell. It was just very annoying. So then I found one that didn't do any of that, but then it left this thick white residue. So as you know, I'm on a learning curve because sunscreen is new to me. And I realized that the mineral was what I really wanted. I just had to deal with that residue. Fast forward to 2013, I'm home in LA. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this next phase of my life. But a friend of mine had a hair care line, and I just asked if he could introduce me to his chemist. Literally, sunscreen just for me, not even thinking about a brand. But because I'm from a large family, I have 10 siblings, the sunscreen, we have a range of shades in our family. And what I noticed that when everyone tried it, it didn't have that white residue and it worked on everybody's skin tone. And I was like, interesting. Maybe I can build a brand around the sunscreen, that one SKU we started with. And a big part of that would be in informing other women of color and people of color that yes, we do need sun protection. The melanin does not exclude us. And that's kind of the quick story.
There are so many pieces to that story that I love. One, there was a problem that you saw a need for and you went for it. And the other thing was that you asked somebody for help. Somebody else that was in the beauty industry helped you to get going. So those are two key important factors for people to hear. So thanks for sharing that. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, can you share with us some of the key lessons that you've learned on your journey as a female entrepreneur?
Oh, wow. Well, you would think that construction was totally different. Right. That was a whole thing. Oh, yeah. Really, really challenging, but pushed through, found all the programs that helped women in that industry. And there were a lot, and there were so few of us. So I really benefited from a lot of the programs. In beauty, my greatest challenge, the beauty is that there's so many other female founders that you get to interact with and learn from. The biggest problem I've discovered in this area is funding. Woman-owned businesses just don't get the funding and forget about it if you're a Black woman-owned business. It has been, I mean, initially when we started, we were told, well, we only invest in companies with $1 million in revenue. When we got to $1 million in revenue, well, it's a little early for us. We only invest in Series A. The same companies who told me, and I'm like, we have distribution and all of these retailers, we have all this stuff going on. And it's really frustrating that it's such an oversight and that has been a real challenge for me.
Now, do you have any advice for women of color specifically as far as getting funding?
Well, you just keep trying.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy. You can get caught up in paying a lot of monies to these apps and people to make decks for you.
Yeah.
Don't do it because they just really don't work. It's built on relationships. It's built on finding. There's so many ways that don't cost you money to reach out to investors or find out who they are. But don't get caught in the trap when these people tell you that. I had one company that was $80,000 over a 9-month period that would help me get funding. And then another company, I actually paid $12,000 for my deck. And then I paid another $3,000 for this app to help me. None of them worked. So it's, you really want the funding and you really want to trust and believe that these different things, but it's really about relationships. Find people who know investors, find people who've been invested in, and reach out to them and just do that work. Don't spend that. You really don't need to spend thousands of dollars getting these connections.
That's very, very good to know. Thank you for sharing that. Now, how do you balance the demands of entrepreneurship with other aspects of your life, such as family and personal well-being?
That is huge for me, huge for me. And I learned that even when I had my construction company, my office was on a busy street with shops. And so I would walk 3 days a week down to the yoga studio about 6 blocks down faithfully. And now I'm here in LA, and what I do now at this phase in my life, soon as I wake up, I'm thankful for whatever pops into my mind. I do a meditation every morning before I get my day started. I get massages. I go to a lot of meditation retreats because when we're cloudy, and it's so easy to feel cloudy and to feel alone, and you don't have anyone who understands the stresses of businesses, that it's easy to really get burned out and to mentally fatigued. And you have to take the time. The business is going to run. If you take 3 days away to kind of regroup, the business is going to be fine. But it's so critical to really focus on self-care.
It really is. I've heard people say before that it's like the oxygen mask in the airplane, where you have to take care of yourself first before you can help anyone else, especially a growing company like yours, right?
Absolutely. 100% you do. There's no harm in it.
Right, of course. So now I read a lot of books and listen to a lot of coaches like Brené Brown, Brendon Burchard, and more recently, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now, where these aren't direct mentors, they are really helpful to me as I navigate this crazy world of entrepreneurship. How important is mentorship for female founders? And have you had any mentors that have made an impact on where you are right now?
Yeah, I have not so much anymore. My mentors are much like yours, not so much in the space. And unfortunately, I feel like women really need to band together more, because sometimes it begins to feel like there's this competitive air where I don't want to tell you that because maybe you'll take some of my customers, or I don't want to share. And so there's this closing in. I love Joe Dispenza. I've gone to several of his workshops. I love Brené Brown. And so I look at people like that. Michael Beckwith, I'm doing a course with him now. And so I just look, because it's about manifesting. It's about self-care. It's about our connection to the world and the people around us. And those things are critically important, because when we can balance our inner selves, everything from the outer world just comes naturally. And the things that we attract are the things that we need. So you have a great group of mentors. I love that.
We share some of those. I think that's so important too, because I feel like when I'm, trying to practice what these people are saying, it's definitely a practice, right? You can't, It doesn't happen overnight. I feel more grateful. And I think when I'm grateful, I kind of exude it a little bit and hopefully uplift people rather than, like you were saying about so many women, are a little bit catty about things, and they really just, if you're uplifting, you're going to be uplifted as well.
That's right. That's right. You attract this light, and it
That's right.
reflects, and it comes and it reflects, and it can be a really beautiful thing.
It really can. It really can. Now, there are a lot of women watching right now that are thinking about starting their own company. What advice would you have for them?
Don't quit your job. Quit your job initially. It's beautiful to plan a business around what you're doing, and you make time for that, because it circles back to what we talked about. Even if you get friends and family funding, even if you spend some of your own money, you don't want to just spend up all your own money. You want to keep your job, have an income coming in to really balance things out, because women just aren't being funded in the way that men are being funded. And so find something that brings you joy. Find something that the world needs that's really good for the world, that really makes a difference in the world. And it'll make you feel so much better about working hard when you have long days, when you have long nights, and you're frustrated, because that core belief that I'm doing something good is really going to propel you to continue when things get tough. And things do get tough. It's challenging. So hold on to the things that support you, and keep the money coming in.
There you go. There you go. And speaking of that, you have overcome some unthinkable challenges in your life that some people would have had a hard time bouncing back from. Can you talk to us about what gives you the strength to keep going, even during the most difficult times?
Yeah, the thing that keeps me going are my spiritual practices. And I've learned so much in these last 3 years that, and even in my prayer this morning, there's so much that our finite minds are capable of understanding. And I accept that. And I'm so grateful for the things that my mind has been able to understand and embrace. And so if I don't do my practices, if I don't take those moments of reflection, and I have this need to be in nature. When I'm in a forest, I feel like I was once a fairy, because I feel so at home. And so I'm not different. I'm not special. I'm just aware. And that awareness is what gives me the strength to move forward, not being stuck and thinking I know everything when I don't really know anything. And I'm so open. I've become so open to learn and embrace all of life's possibilities. And it really, really does give me the strength. And I don't always have the strength. And when the days come, I know when I wake up in the morning, I say, okay, it's this day. This is what I'm feeling. And I listen to those emotions, and I listen to my physical body. And if I need to stay in bed and think about my son and talk to him and feel his presence, that's what I do. And when I wake up and I feel good, and then I'm charged and I'm ready to go, and I embrace those days so much, because I know that I still have those days where it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. I love that you really take the time to listen to how you're feeling and adjust how you need to. I know that there are many days that I wake up and I feel annoyed, and I try to think, why am I being annoyed? There's some reason, and I usually can pinpoint what it is as long as I catch that feeling pretty early. So I think that's so important, to really pay attention to what you're feeling and try to figure out why, if it's a negative feeling, and try to quickly turn it into something more positive.
Yes. And I think meditation really helps with that, because when you're able to be silent and you're able to see that there's me that's meditating, and there's something greater that's watching me meditate. And so then you could separate your being from those emotions. I used to have the worst road rage. Now I'm just like, oh, why don't you do that? Because the reality is that tomorrow, you know what's going to remember that. It's not even going to be a visceral feeling. And the next week, that guy cutting you off is going to be. So why allow yourself to get so worked up in that moment?
That's right.
And it's been a beautiful thing to see the shift, right? It's really incredible.
It is. I heard you when I was doing my research. I saw where you mentioned something about, somebody in a car might cut you off or something. And if you think about it differently, and you think about maybe there's something they're going through right now that you don't know about. So, give them a little bit of patience, give them a little bit of grace, and that you'll feel better about it too. So I thought that was really important to share.
Yeah, it's just to see people in the world differently and their journey could be. I had an aha moment recently and about a certain individual, and I was just like, huh, okay. And I let it go because I said, why am I judging that person based on their beliefs? And I caught it in the moment. I had first blocked them when I learned of certain beliefs that they had. And then later it was like, boom, and I unblocked them. And I was like, I can't live life like that because even people who believe differently and it may be deemed good or bad, who are we to judge? We can all learn something from all of those behaviors.
Yes.
And it was really, and I loved it later. I couldn't believe it. A few years ago, I would have wrote that person off instantly. And so we just need to see people, meet them where they are.
That's right. It's a journey for sure. I know that I try to be more curious when I'm feeling judgmental now and think, why? Why? Yeah, just be more curious.
Yes,
Right.
yes, exactly.
All right, I'd like to switch gears for a second, talk about Unsun Cosmetics again. Can you share with us what your vision for Unsun Cosmetics is in the future?
Yeah, we just want to continue to grow. We are so excited for eventually the FDA to approve new ingredients, like a lot in the EU that are being used that are really wonderful that we are not allowed to use here, and just make using sunscreen just a regular part of your routine. We have this hashtag that we use in the fall and the winter called "It's Not Summer Screen." And and it's so frustrating that there's considered, even with all my retailers, a season for sunscreen. But the reality is that the sun is always with us, and skin cancer and sun damage, hyperpigmentation, premature aging is always at the waiting. And so we just want to make it easy. We want to simplify everyone's life. And so we're just continuing to make products that are good, clean, reef-friendly, cruelty-free, mineral-based, that are easy and innovative. We make a highlighter that is just so beautiful that I use all the time. And so things like that, that's a mineral clean, not the crazy glitter that's harmful, but really beautiful products. And so we want to add a lip line finally and just continue to have some fun with it.
Well, good for you. Congratulations on all your success. Any final thoughts or advice that you'd like to share with our audience before we go?
Yeah, so two things. The first is, do not leave sunscreen in your cars, especially when it's hot. The sun, the heat, especially from a closed car, really reduces the benefits of sunscreen. So it breaks it down. So you don't want to do that. Keep it in your purse. Just take it to the beach or wherever with you.
Okay,
and
good to know.
Yeah, it's really important. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I did not know.
Yeah, and just be kind. Choose products that are good for you. There's so few things in the world that we can control. The air we breathe, sometimes the water that we drink, but we can control what we put in our bodies and on our skin. So take care of yourself.
Katonya, thank you so much for sharing your story and your advice with us today. We appreciate it so much. And for those of you that want to check out some of Katonya's fabulous products, you can find them in Target and CVS, just to name a few, or simply go to unsuncosmetics.com. Katonya, thanks again.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
This is the Female Founder Show with host and entrepreneur Bridget Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN. If you're a female founder and would like to help other female founders with your inspiring story, we would love to hear from you.